Hi, welcome to the moment of wonder. Scott enjoys a football match when the antique table downstairs makes mysterious noises. She followed the sound straight to the desk, and when she opened the hidden compartment, she was shocked to find a letter. A chill ran down her spine. She opened the letter to find a laundry list of questions from Lacey. "Dear Sir, today I received your surprise letter. I'm shocked by your loyalty. Who are you? How do you know I have secrets just waiting to be stolen? When I put this letter in that spot, was I dreaming up some bizarre adventure?" When Scott discovered they could send letters to each other, she felt the whole world had turned into one big ridiculous show. He decided to write back, explaining everything in detail. In other words, "Our connection is so strong, we could throw a party in the river of time." After reading the letter, Lacey was left speechless, thinking a thief had snuck in to steal her correspondence, but she never imagined letters spanning a century reaching her. This time-bending exchange thrilled her. After learning about the table's special powers, they began exchanging letters frequently. Lacey peppered Scott with questions like whether she had ever experienced a heart-stopping love. But Scott fell silent for a moment. She had a feeling but felt no sparks, just a case of it's time to get engaged. Plus, there were the expectations of both families, but during the few days of corresponding with Lacey, Scott surprisingly found herself having slight flutterings in her heart despite knowing absolutely nothing about her appearance. Sometimes feelings are just such a magical thing. Scott shared the letter she received with her mom, but the mom who initially encouraged her was now urging her to get out before she got too deep. Her mother's words woke Scott up. Her fiancé may not be Prince Charming, but she deleted the rest of the drafts and decided to stop writing back. In the following week, Lacey received no letters, and she felt a sense of loss, as if saying goodbye to a long-lost friend. But Lacey didn't cease her actions of sending letters into the concealed compartment. She had guessed what might be worrying Scott. Despite the fact that Scott remained silent and hadn't replied, he still maintained a keen interest in the circumstances of Lacey's life. So she drove to the address mentioned in the letter, and the door was opened by the same black maid. She was racking her brain for the perfect greeting, but the words that were in her heart had already been drowned out by her nerves. The words in her heart were all foggy. She could see Scott's reaction, hinting at the miraculousness of the situation. After much persuasion from Scott, the maids finally let her in. Once inside, Scott began to daydream about the former resident, Lacey. But just then a loud voice came from upstairs. The maid told her that the old lady on the second floor was the current owner. Scott learned that Lacey was her great-aunt, a stunningly beautiful girl, which only added to her astonishment. "Can you tell me if she was ever married? I'm kind of looking to catch some zest here." Just when Scott wanted to ask more, the old lady dodged the question. In the end, Scott had to leave feeling defeated. However, while going down the stairs, a wave of wonder hit her, and Lacey from a century ago happened to be standing at the bottom. They seemed to feel each other's presence, as if just a gentle reach could bridge time and lead to a real touch. But as they indulged in this magical moment, the maid's urging voice pulled Scott back. As she left, Scott was still savoring the feeling. Once home, she wrote it down in a letter. The next day, Lacey joyfully opened the envelope to find a Christmas tree photo tucked inside. "If that happens, I'll refuse a miracle. Forgive my son, this won't happen again, I promise. All my love, Scott." After reading the letter, Lacey couldn't hold back her tears. The longing in her heart grew stronger, so on this warm afternoon, she got all dolled up and hired a photographer to capture them. When Scott received the photo, an urge welled up inside her, and she snapped a handsome picture to send right back to Lacey. Destiny loves to play tricks. That day, Lacey's letter was collected by the maid, but she didn't notice Scott's letter had fallen to the floor. So, Lacey missed out on seeing Scott's photo. What a twist of fate. In her daily life, she occasionally had to deal with the Count, but honestly, there wasn't much for them to talk about. When Lacey asked the Count if he had read the poetry she sent, his half-hearted response showed he hadn't bothered at all. Realizing this, Lacey felt a wave of sadness. Besides Scott, it seemed no one cared for her poetry. She told Scott she had decided to stop writing poetry. Upon hearing this, Scott quickly copied her poems. And she even showcased them at a gathering to help Lacey earn some encouragement from a writer friend. But the writer took only 2 glances and couldn't help but burst into laughter, which immediately made Scott's fiancé sense something was wrong, prompting her to rush over and inquire about the reason behind it. Finally, the writer and Scott parted badly, but Scott replied, encouraging Lacey to persist. Even if her poetry isn't recognized now, who knows what could happen in 10 or 100 years. More importantly, she genuinely believed Lacey wrote beautifully. After Scott's encouragement, Lacey dropped the topic due to worsening headache and decided to see her sister. Her sister, out of concern for her, wanted to be by her side. However, Lacey quietly shut the door and then disclosed the secret hidden in the table. After briefing her sister on helping with the letters, Lacey set off for the big city in a carriage. But the once smooth road hit a bump, and 100 years later, Scott was in the middle of a cycling race when boom,